thank you all very much for coming. We're just going to present our results from our research project here at Bullitt Central High School.
Just the mission statement here, and we went over this the first part of the school year before we started our intervention, and we presented all this information to Dr. Beavers already. Just Charles' mission statement, and just some the next slide is just some basic demographics. Oh, I did a lot of animations before when I thought it was cool.
It is cool.
Not when you're in a hurry.
The Bullitt Central believes in professional learning communities. They really work well together on developing curriculum to the standards and then providing rigorous instruction and facilitating a community of learners, which is really why we did our project.
And this is just talking about behavioral expectations that you all do the PBS program here. You all have clear expectations, recognitions, and you also provide rewards to students for appropriate behavior and also attendance. And grades.
And then CSIP had 8 different goals, and we won't go through all the goals so you don't get out of here, but a lot of them focus on improving scores on like EOCs and college and career readiness and graduation rates, and so that really again tied into improving student attendance and our ACT scores. You hit it because
this is page 2 of your CSIP goals. And this is just some information about your summing up just basically what was on your school report card. Just that your K-Prep results, there was an overall score of 76.4. You all were in the 94th percentile ranking. Now a distinguished and focused school. You achieved your AMO goals, and also just your proficient distinguished breakdown, the percentage of students you have college and career ready, and your graduation rates.
And we looked at students that were scoring proficient and distinguished on EOCs, and so room to grow on those, especially in biology, but that's going away, so it doesn't even matter anymore.
In fact, English, we got a word last week that English is dead.
English is dead as well?
Oh,
okay,
wow.
so I was like, I knew biology got rid of, so now English is out. But the ACT doesn't seem to be going away for at least juniors. The ACT on last year was composite score of 18.3, which is below the national average of 21.1. So.
I don't like that picture of me.
The reason why we approached ACT in attendance was because Bullitt Central was the 3rd to the last in district with an attendance rate of 92.78. You were only ahead of Riverview and the Bullitt Alternative Center. And also, ACT scores are lower than the national average, and attendance rates are concerned. So could there be a correlation? And that's why we implemented our plan.
And from our data, we did find that there was a correlation from last year's statistics as far as ACT and attendance. The correlation, had a p-value of 0.00001, so it was correlated to be significant. Nor negative correlation implies that the number of absent days does increase. The increases as the ACT scores decrease. So.
And so how do we determine our sample groups? We accessed a site called Attendance Works, and they recommended that we put our kids in 3 tier categories. At tier 1, they received less than 5%. They didn't have more than 5% of their days absent. They were no risk or very low risk. Tier 2 had 10 to 19% days were absent, and they were identified as moderate chronic absences. And then tier 3, 20% and above, they were labeled severe and chronic. with their absences.
Did you guys distinguish excused or unexcused or?
No, we look only at days absent,
Okay.
total days. And so when we graphed our data, you can see the negative correlation between ACT scores and number of days absent. So as days absence go up, scores went down.
Mm-hmm.
So. And we like this graph, though nobody else liked it. But I really thought it drove home the point that basically the days absent and ACT scores really were linked together, because there was a huge drop in your ACT score once you started getting into that severe chronic absences. So,
Wow.
Could imagine missing 63 days of school.
yeah, I don't know where you're at, but
No.
Several people.
And I guess another clarifying question is that
this
attendance occurrences,
Yes.
absences, tardies, or all the above?
all of the
All
above.
the above.
Okay.
Because our premise was that if you're not in class, you're not getting the instruction
Exactly.
you need to improve. So.
All the above.
All of the above. And so we had our hypothesis that attendance has, the null hypothesis was that attendance has no effect on ACT scores, whereas the alternative is that attendance negatively correlates to ACT achievement. And so then we looked at our data.
And so our essential questions were whether early intervention positively impacts attendance. We passed out a pamphlet at the beginning of the school year that documented, this is what happens, you missed this many days of school, this is what's most likely going to happen. We sent that out to all the junior class members this at the beginning of the school year. Second question was, what are the barriers to adequate attendance? And the third question is, will the intervention provided improve attendance and as a result improve ACT scores?
This is just y'all's the BCPS protocol on attendance. We didn't feel like it was an early enough intervention, so, or more, not individual enough either, so. So our outline is we would look at the juniors of this year compared to the juniors of last year, looking at attendance and ACT, and see if there was a correlation. We would offer interventions, bracket, if it's tier 1, just bracket interventions to every junior, and then tier 2 focus in on critical risk students. They would receive, these were the ones that missed 10 to 19% of scheduled school days. They would receive the needs assessment to see what was hindering their attendance, and then receive some positive behavioral supports.
And so the rationale for this was you all set a goal of 100% student reaching college and career ready. ACT benchmarks are an assessment of college readiness. The data from the juniors from last year establishes a strong negative correlation between absent days and ACT scores. Students who miss less than 5% of scheduled school days score higher on the ACT. And these students also scored a composite average of 20.20 on the ACT and missed an average of only 3.9 days of school. And also, as students miss more school days, the ACT scores decrease.
Which was drastically closer to the national average of 21 than the 18 or 13 for the kids who missed 62 days or more. So.
Is there any look at taking out a portion of those guys that missed extraneous amounts of days, the tier 2 category, and seeing what those ACT score correlations
Yes,
were?
we did that.
Okay.
So, or we're working on that.
Okay.
And so we said earlier interventions would help, especially students with histories of chronic absenteeism. So low attendance throughout the district really suggested that we needed to, attendance would impact achievement and that we needed to work on those, so.
And so, as we talk about our essential question, number 1, whether early intervention positively impacts attendance, positive behavioral supports were provided to 10 critical risk students, and we did this over a 5-week period. These students were recognized for any attendance during that 5-week period. We brought them tangible gifts. We also brought them notes of encouragement. Recognition was presented in the form of personalized notes and encouragement, and also what we discovered was before the intervention, they were averaging 11.77 days a week absent and 3.12 days tardy. During our intervention, they engaged in 1.22 days absent and 0.28 tardies
Outstanding.
per week. And then, but after the intervention, what we noticed here was that the days absent went back up, 2.15 days a week, but the tardies decreased to 0.5 days a week.
So I felt like that showed that the intervention, like just giving those kids little bitty notes of encouragement or, hey, we're glad you showed up, really changed the way they thought about school, especially in the tardies. That was a drastic decrease in tardies.
What kind of chips were the tangible rewards?
We
Candy.
Candy.
I brought them little, I didn't put our names on it, just a little note that says, we're so glad that you decided to come to school today, we appreciate that you're here. Or I've made them little gift bags of candy and treats and,
For what we're losing in ADA, that might be a good investment.
candy's not the best way to go, but it seems to really motivate high schoolers.
Most of those things too much sugar caffeine.
Kids love it, but you can actually see that there is a drastic dip in the tardies. Like that was the biggest, and then for absences, you saw a bit of a decrease, and then afterwards there's a huge decrease. So I think the interventions have a positive effect.
I think the data on the tardies is amazing because when they come in late and then they get to class late, the disruption that it causes just getting settled in. You know, taking on a lot of.
I was very
distractions.
surprised by the tardy data. Like I didn't expect that data to be so drastic. So, and it works better we found with boys than it does girls. So we even broke it down by male, female, and the males seem to respond better.